Buonasera a tutti. Come promesso, stasera abbiamo un ospite che non ha bisogno di presentazioni. Penso che stasera Film Music Channel abbia toccato la punta dell'iceberg, perché stasera si ha l'opportunità di parlare con Lenny Zakatek, il cantante degli Parsons, quindi una personalità non indifferente. Quindi io, come sempre, vi auguro buona visione. Preparerò i sottotitoli dopo la nostra diretta e niente, partiamo. Buona visione. Hi Lenny.
Hi, how you doing?
I don't see you. I don't see you. You have to activate your webcam.
Well, I don't know how to do that because
There is under your screen there is activate or deactivate your webcam.
yeah, I got it. How's that?
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you, Lenny, for your time. It is a pleasure to talk with you. It is a
You're
pleasure. The first thing I want to ask you, because it is very important, I want to ask you, I would like to know your latest concert. How's it going? Is it going good?
We were in. Well, I went to Bergamo for a few days to rehearse with the Sky Band, who are all Italian musicians, and to my surprise, we had all been studying the songs. And I have a system at home where I sing to the tracks, and they were in the studio rehearsing, and I was astounded how good it sounded in the rehearsal. And then we got to Lugo, which was near Bologna, and
Okay.
it was an amazing show. It was nice because it was like a club atmosphere and not a big theater. And
Okay.
according to the promoter Enrico Spada, who is always sponsors me when I come to Italy, and my wife, and it was the best show I did in Italy, and I've done 6 shows now. So I was, very, very happy that it sounded that good,
And Lenny, I want to ask you, there will be a release of an album in November.
Of myself with the Sky Band, is this what?
Yes. Yes.
I'm not sure at this stage. I think if we tour in Italy, which I think we should do, because as far as doing concerts in Bergamo, we've had numbers like 1,200-1,300 people coming to the shows, so which was fantastic. So I think if we could get some of the other cities and maybe do 5 or 6 shows, that would be the time we would release the album. But I think at the moment, it's whether we release it by ourselves or whether we release it with a label, This is
Okay.
the question. So at the moment, we haven't decided, but I think it's best to really tour, do a small tour of Italy, because already we were quite, I'm quite well known there now, is through my concerts in Bergamo, and we also had a promoter who did the media stuff, Daniele Magnadi, who was very helpful for us, and he got us a lot of press. So it would be lovely to do, because we could probably even put a live album together with the shows I've done in Italy, so that would be a plan.
It is very important, your point of view, to do some gigs in small clubs or maybe in medium clubs, because I think that like a singer like you, so many people knows about you, the vocal of Alan Parsons, and I think that when I talk with Sergio Pescara, your drummer, that I cheer Sergio, Sergio said to me to play in small clubs. It is better, because for you and for a singer like you to have the audience not so far from you, have the aggregation of the people, it is a good thing for you.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I haven't done that for a while, I must admit. But when I have played in sort of say 400, 500 seaters, you know, where it's smaller, and I did a show in New York, and although there were 3,000 people in Westbury Theatre, but it was a circular stage, so the audience was everywhere around me, you know, and absolutely loved it. And it just reminded me when I was young, that's what I did, you know, when I was never afraid to step out into the crowd, you know what I mean, and sing. I like the communication, because when you're that close, they can see the real emotion of your performance. Whereas if you're further back, you know, in a 2,000 seater, you almost need the back screens, you know, the TV to help you, so that they can see you know, they can hear the song, but they can't see the emotion so well. So I think, yeah, yeah, I should do maybe less shows than Taylor Swift. It's better, no?
You can see straight in the eyes of the audience, I think that.
Yeah,
I think you
100%.
can see the emotion, because when you sing songs like games people play, so many people cheers up.
Yeah, or even if I do a ballad, I mean, when I was in Lugo recently, I dedicated Time, the song Time, which Eric Woolfson
Wow,
originally sang.
wow.
But I made my own version of it. And then when I got to Bergamo a few years ago, Skyman decided I should do it by myself, just with the orchestra. So no downbeat, just the orchestra. So I think it was the Gavazzini Orchestra, which was about 36 pieces. And that was the first time. It was difficult because, you know, normally you have a band or a drummer laying down the beat, but I had to follow the movement of the orchestra. And it was wonderful. So I do that version now on my own. But I think when you're and I dedicated the song. Obviously, you know, Eric Woolfson passed away maybe 10 years ago or more. But I dedicated the song to the people of Italy. You know, the lost people of Italy after COVID, and especially in Bergamo, which is where the pandemic started. So I kind of filled up with emotion, and there were, according to my wife, there were people near her that were crying at the time, you know what I mean? So it was a nice thing to do. And sometimes when you're doing something fast and exciting, you can physically hear the audience, you know, near you. So you can feel that vibration of energy, which is otherwise, when you're on a big stage, you're creating the energy by yourself, you know, by moving across the stage and trying to be more visual. But
Yes,
whereas if you're with a smaller audience, you don't have to be that visual because you're right in amongst them. You know?
straight.
Yeah, straight ahead. Yeah.
And I think that Lenny songs like Time, it is very emotional. For me, it is very emotional. Time. I think that is a great song, and I remember when you played with an orchestra, 1983, Andrew Powell made a record of the song of the Alan Parsons only with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, but with drums, Stuart Elliott, Ian Barrison, Dave Payton, your colleagues. And I think that when I heard for the first time in orchestral version, it is very, very, very different, with no vocals, only in instrumental. And I think that Andrew Powell, it is a good conductor. I think that.
Sure.
And
No, I agree. I actually haven't heard that version, but I think it's beautiful music. But when the lyrics are so powerful, you know, who knows?
I will send you later the link of this album on YouTube, because maybe for you it will be a point of maybe think about it.
Yeah.
Lenny,
Yeah. Sure.
yes. Sorry.
No, that's all right. No, I was
Okay.
just saying the lyrics are so powerful. You know,
Yes,
when you're saying time flowing like a river, who knows when we shall meet again, if ever. You know, so it's and time is beckoning me, especially now that I'm getting older. you know, I don't know how long my voice will still be at this level. And that's the truth, you know, because the voice is a muscle. And now I can't, now I have to sing well. When I was younger, I looked good, long hair, good body. I didn't have to sing so well because I look sexy, you know, but now I need to sing the notes because I'm not so sexy. So,
Yes, because when I see you on the video of YouTube with leather pants, like Lenny, you remind me an important Puerto Rican actor, Eric Estrada. It was an important, like you, the same hair, the same thing. So no, I think that Lenny, your voice will be for a long time very good.
oh,
And Lenny, I want to ask you your beginnings when you was very young. Can you tell us about your first encounter with the music when you was a baby or maybe a kid?
well, when I was very young, I remember, you know, 6, 7, 8, that kind of age. We always used to sing as a family. Uh, it kind of reminded us. There's a movie with the Von Trapp family, you know, with oh, I forget the name. It's a very famous movie with Julie Andrews, where they all sing, you know.
Yes, I
Yeah,
know. Julie Andrews sing in the mountains.
yes, that's the one. So we were
I will search you for you.
okay. Well,
Okay.
my father was a harmonic player, and my uncle was a trumpet player. So usually one of the relatives would be playing piano or guitar, and everybody was pushed forward when we had, you know, home parties. But my career
Okay.
as to start my career was when I was about 13, 14. My dad's brother, who was this trumpet player, moved into our home in South London, uh, and he picked up guitar because he was very sick with his chest to play trumpet professionally anymore. So I used to just listen to him play, and instead of just playing, you know, four chords for rock and roll, he was teaching me classics like Georgia on My Mind, I Left My Heart in San Francisco, Masquerade, you know, really almost jazz inversions, you know. So by 14 and by 15, I had started my own band in South London, but we used to play in the pubs. But because of alcohol, I wasn't allowed in the pub. I was allowed to come from the back to the stage, have a Coca-Cola, and then then leave. So I did about 18 months, 2 years of those kind of shows, you know, where we had lots of our own fans, our own age, you know, 14, 15 years old. They used to come and follow us in South London. And then by about 16, 17, that band was called the Trailblazers, and we got a contract for Radio London, which was a pirate radio station. It wasn't
Yes.
actually, and Radio London didn't. They auditioned us. We sent some tapes, and I remember singing like a Beatles song, and you know, one by sort of a pop song, and then I did Rescue Me by Fontana Bass, which is more soul, and then I did Georgia on My Mind. And they gave us a contract. We had no manager, we had no bus to take us, but it was in Germany. And at 17 years old, I went to Germany. I was one of the drivers. I just passed my driving test, 3 months, and we went to Germany with no idea what to expect because, you know, nobody showed us a video of the club or what the conditions were going to be, etc., etc. But what was amazing was the man was the German owner of the club in a town called Hanau, was very generous with us. He knew we were very young. So the first 3 nights he said, you just play, because in London we played two 45-minute sets, you know, that was it. You played an hour and a half and you were done. But in Germany, he said that by the weekend, we had to learn 8 45-minute sets to do 8. So it was a tough, it was a tough course, really, so like the hard knocks of music. But we learned to stretch a song. We learned to play it in different tempos. Sometimes we play the same blues, but fast or slow, and just learn to adjust to the audience. But after 1 month, we knew 100 songs, plus. And after doing 3 months in Germany, but we were playing mainly American bases in Germany because the American army was training their soldiers for the next stop in Vietnam. So it was very emotional at the time because you'd make friends with somebody and then next minute they were going to Vietnam. So you're thinking, wow, this is a reality. They may never come back. You know what I mean? So, and through that we met people like Gladys Knight and the Pips, and we met the Drifters because they used to come and entertain the American soldiers. And the German people were loved it because it was their way of listening to soul music at the time. Because the German clubs didn't play that. All the German audiences used to come to the American bases, and they were very welcome at the time. So that's how kind of, after 3 months, I came back to England after 3 months, and I was 24 instead of 17. You know what I mean? I just grew, and that was. I had to almost feel like I wanted to work every night, in some place. So we went back to Germany for 10 months, and that's when we changed the name of the band to Funky Fever, which is more like soulful.
Funky Fever.
But yeah, so it was like the school of hard knocks, as they call it,
Yes, I think that.
It is. You don't learn it on on The Voice, or you don't learn it on the Britain's Got Talent or Italy's Got Talent. They sing one song and they might become stars. But the reality is, even with Gonzalez, I think I did 2,000 shows before we had any success, we were making albums and stuff, but we didn't have the success at the time. But we were successful in playing, the level was getting higher. We were like college band of the year. The universities were taking us. We were asked to play on the Pink Floyd after show party, things like that, because people could see that we were a great band.
Yes.
So, and that's still my level. Whether I'm working with my Italian brothers or I'm working with the project band, whoever, I have a standard that I need to achieve before I go on the stage, because it's what I do, it's my life. So.
Before I forget, the name of this movie with Julie Andrews was The Sound of Music.
That's the one.
In Italy, it is different, but
Yeah.
and the second thing, I think that your first encounter with music, so you became a professional singer by 17 years old.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
My parents had to discuss this because it was education or music, But when my father used to drive the little minibus, which he got for us, we didn't have one, we couldn't drive. So, and he would leave us at the club at, say, the pub at 7 o'clock. People would come in around 8:30. He would go home because he'd been working all week. So he would go home, and then at 11 o'clock he'd come and pick us up. And then he had to get up at 6 in the morning to go to work. So he did that most weekends. So it was amazing. If I didn't have that support, but he could see my energy, was always there to play music. And obviously sometimes he would come and listen and stuff like that, So yeah, that's, I can't think now of when my kids were the same age to send them on their own to a country you know, unless everything was, you know, everything was ready. But we just went. I mean, we could have gone to anywhere, you know, could have been the worst place in the world to perform. We didn't know that at the time, you know.
Yes, I know. Things change now. Things were very changed now, but in your case, in those days, there's no so many problems like now. And I think that kids like you, they think about his job. They think about they can do this thing. Maybe parents say to you, or you study or you job in music. And I think that your parents was a very good one because they leave you to think about it, and they leave you free to think, I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a singer. You choose singer.
Sure. I don't think I was that clever to be a doctor, but I could be sympathetic. But no, it was. I think they could see that. I mean, I've been doing it for 50 years, and if you'd come to Lugo and seen me, you would think I was doing it like for the first time in my life. You know what I mean? Because I was really nervous. But nervous is good. Energy. I did all my la la la's, you know, for 40 minutes before I went on stage. And
Vocal exercises.
Yeah, and then I just and then you have to kind of say, okay, this is the European Cup final. I mean, you gotta go. But every gig for me is like the final, because that's the first time maybe almost all the audience had seen me sing in all my life. You know what I mean? So if you think about it, they say you're only as good as your last show. So that's what you have to do. You know, you can't fake it. You have to love it. I mean, sometimes I've sung a song absolutely beautiful, and I thought that was the best version I've sung in 5 years. And there were maybe 20 people there at the club, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And then other
Yes,
times
I know it.
I played to 5,000 people, you know, I'm thinking, I didn't like that, but the crowd loved it, you know what I mean? So it's what you do, you know.
It is part of your job. And later, Lenny, after this continuum of concert, when did you meet Alan Parsons? When did you meet Alan Parsons? Can you recall?
Yeah, I was still with Gonzalez, just working. We hadn't had any hits at the time, but we were probably, I would say, UK's best session band or soul band. You know, we could play. If you look at the history of Gonzalez, you know, the George Michael, Careless Whispers, that's Steve Gregory from Gonzalez playing the saxophone. If you look at Roxy Music,
Yes.
that's Chris Mercer playing saxophone. If you look at some, Philip Chan played Do You Think I'm Sexy with Rod Stewart. He was a Gonzalez bass player. So we were on everybody's records in those days, except me as the singer, because they were the singers and they were the performers. So yeah, we played, like I said, almost 2,000 gigs. But at the time, I was in EMI studios, like demo studios in Manchester Square.
Manchester.
And working what we called sticky carpet studios, you know, like everybody's throwing coffee on the ground, and it's the band the night before.
Cigarettes,
you know, dope, whatever. Sometimes you're fixing the wires yourself, you know what I mean, with to make the microphone work, or the microphone for the drums. So we were making demos for EMI. We were signed to them at the time, and I got a call from Eric Wolfson about 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm at Manchester Square." He said, "Oh, you're not very far from me." He said, "Can you come down tonight? I've got a song for you." So, like all musicians, I said, "How much money?" So he said,
how much money?
He said, "I'll give you 50 quid, which is £50. I said, "Okay, you know, that's I remember at the time my mortgage for my house was £33 a month. So I'm thinking, I've got a month's, I can stay in the house for another month. So I said, okay, where? And I thought, he's saying, come and do like a demo or something, and he said, no, Abbey Road Studios, come tonight, 10 o'clock. And I'd been at EMI Studio since 1 in the afternoon. So 9 hours later, I rock up to Abbey Road Studios. And I knew of Alan, but I didn't know about Pink Floyd or, the success, because it was happening in America at the time, etc. And we didn't have that information. So just the fact that, I was at Abbey Road, and I thought, wow, this is amazing. Paul McCartney and Linda McCartney were in Studio 2 next door to us. Eric played me a song which I now know as I Wouldn't Want to Be Like You on the piano. And I went, yeah, sounds good. I think, let's do a cassette. I'll take it home. I'll learn it and maybe come back tomorrow, day after. And he said, no, we want you to do it tonight. So I went, but by then I had the experience of from 17 to 23, 24, of doing gigs all my life. So I had a style, I presume, on my own, I didn't know, which was slightly soulful, slightly rocky, I guess. And that's what Eric noticed. Because Eric Wolfson used to come to a lot of Gonzalez shows. He was also a friend, and he had seen me many times, singing in Gonzalez. And he said, later he told me, he thought my voice would suit I Wouldn't Want to Be Like You. So I took the cassette with the headset down to the Abbey Road toilets. I sat in the toilet for 40 minutes listening to the track. And I came back up and I said, I'm ready. And I did 3 takes and I was done. So, and instead of catching the train and the bus and the train, they put me in a limousine and got me home. Yes.
Wow. Wonderful.
Yeah.
For a musician who came to do for 7 years of continuous jobs, continuous gigs, and they call you to do this thing, for you, I think that you're on the edge of the mountain. I think
100%, because well, in some ways, I think I almost never got the song, because when I heard the demo, I jokingly said to Alan and Eric, I'd like to sing this with a lot more energy, because the demo sounded not so exciting, but the demo sounded very
weak.
Weak is the wrong word. It's just there was no energy in the performance of the demo. So I said, I don't know who's, with greatest respect, I don't know who did the demo, but I'd like to add my energy to it. And Eric pressed the button and said the demo was me.
My God. Oh my God.
My confidence was so high, I just said it. And in fact, Eric said, okay, big mouth, if you think you're that good, hit the song, so I did.
Big mouth. Wonderful.
But yeah, it was, and then I thought, oh shit, maybe I haven't got the gig, but they loved, after 3 takes, Alan just said, thank you. And I wasn't sure if they liked it or they didn't like it. Alan wasn't as emotional as Eric was at the time. And then I went downstairs back to the cafeteria, had a cup of tea, as you do in England always, and then they buzzed me up about 40 minutes later and played me the song. And I actually said, who is that? And they said, that's you, because he did an ADT, double voice, slide double.
Yes,
voice in it.
like Beatles.
But it wasn't done mechanically. It was done because I sang it the same way, that close, in the verses. So it's fantastic. So yeah, and that was it.
Because we have to remember that Alan Parsons was and he is a good engineer. There's no way I think about it. he had, in my opinion, so many ideas,
Yeah.
and I think that the Alan Parsons project because there is so many musicians. Parsons give the idea, Woodson, Zakatek, Colin Blunstone, David Payton make the music. I think like this because Alan was the boss with Eric. I think that
It was actually equal. I think they
equal.
both,
Okay.
yeah, they were both. I mean, Alan was a stunning engineer and still is. You know, he's one of the world's best
Yes.
engineers. And I worked with Bob Mountain. I worked with Mike Chapman and Nicky Chin, who did all the Blondie stuff. And remember that song, "Who's Gonna Take You Home Tonight"? That was on the Live Aid that came out. You know, so I worked with some of the best producers in the world at the time. You know, with different, even the disco song, you know, "Haven't Stopped Dancing" was with Gloria Jones, who had recorded "Tainted Love" and stuff like that. So, but the combination of Alan and Eric was genius. You know, absolute genius. And I think, and then if you add Andrew Powell to the arrangements, and you add Davy Payton's bass lines, and you
Stuart Elliott.
Stuart Elliott on drums, and then if you add Ian Benson on guitar, every guitar solo that he plays is a melody by itself.
Yes.
When
I
we
think
play,
that
you know,
I
when we play with the Sky Band, I always say whoever the guitarist is that I work with at the time, I say you've got to respect Ian's solo. You have to play that solo the way it is, you know. Otherwise, don't bother to play it.
It was a chemistry. It was a chemistry because sometimes when I heard so many people on YouTube, like in Italy, there is so many people who talks about music, and when they talk about the Alan Parsons, people are not so very hot about it. They are, I don't think so. The Alan Parsons project, yes, but is not like the classical and pure progressive rock. They were wrong because if you think about the technology in the sky, the first use of the Firelight, CMI, Mamma Gamma, or Step by Step, so many things. My favorite album of Alan Parsons project, it is The Turn of the Friendly Card. For me, the best one.
Yeah.
I don't know what is your favorite, Lenny.
Well, for many years, I thought Turn of the Friendly Card because there was so many great songs on it. But recently, I was asked to report by Sony Music on Pyramids, which is coming out soon as a remix.
Yes, Pyramid, yes.
And I started to listen to the production on Pyramids, and I was just blown away. I just thought, how does this man get this sound back then? Because it just sounds amazing. I mean, I never thought Pyramids, you know, I sang my songs on Pyramids, and I loved the album, but I sort of changed my mind a little just by listening to the sound of Pyramids. It was just unique, absolutely.
Pyramid was unique. The last week I've reheard What Goes Up, my favorite, Shadow of a Lonely Man. It is wonderful. And the Hypergamma Spaces. Hypergamma Spaces, it is the preview of the new wave. If you think about the rhythm or the chemistry in every album, like Eve, there was a, there is a song sang by the name of this woman. If you could change your mind.
Leslie Duncan?
Leslie, I don't remember.
Leslie Duncan.
Yes, it is wonderful.
Yeah.
Step by step, it is a wonderful song.
Yeah, I love Step by Step. Yeah.
Step by step, it is very. You sing like a juggler. It is very, because when you listen your voice, I think that in the case of the theme of the song, you can sing like your mood. You don't like the same thing, Lenny.
Yeah.
The thing about your voice. And after the Alan Parsons, the last album that you made with Alan Parsons was Ammonia Heaven. No, maybe What's Your Culture?
Yeah. Vulture. No. Yes, I did. Yeah. If I, do you know what? Vulture. I think because the band was over by then. It was certainly Alan and Eric were over. So we made Vulture Culture, but I love the rhythm section. I love it. You know, it almost
Yes.
sounds to me like Steely Dan could have done Vulture Culture.
Yes, these are numbers. These are numbers. It is a good one.
Yeah.
Because later they done Stereotomy, but Stereotomy I don't like it. There was on vocals Gary Brooker of Procolarum. There was.
Well, it wasn't any good because I wasn't on it, so that's why.
Yes, yeah. Yes, Lenny. And in 1979,
Yeah.
I've sent on WhatsApp this song of your first solo album. I want to ask you, in those days, to be the vocalist of the Alan Parsons, what is the new life and new path to do a solo career? Because I know that your first album was produced by Alan Parsons.
Yeah.
Can you recall it, the memories about it?
Yeah, I had lots of good memories. I mean, initially, Alan, I was introducing him to the Gonzalez musicians, you know, which is where my passion was, because that was my career, more with Gonzalez at the time, because the Alan Parsons project never toured. So, you know, apart from that one show, 3 shows that we did in Belgium in 1990. So I think at the time I wanted more the rhythm section to be a little, you know, more funkier, possibly. So I introduced some people, and then Alan and myself sat down and said, look, you know, you have the success of Alan Parsons, my voice, and you have the success of Gonzalez at the same time. So
But for me,
huh?
But I think that you have the Alan Parsons and the Gonzalez. But for Lenny Zakatek, now I want to do a solo album.
I want to do a solo album, but the only way I could describe it is I was stuck between the two, because I loved Eric's writing, and really in Gonzalez, on the soul side, we were a great instrumental album. You know, we did lots of great instrumentals for the horn section, but we didn't have that many people that could write great songs, you know, certainly in that soul field, till we met Gloria Jones, you know, who wrote Tainted Love, and she wrote I Haven't Stopped Dancing Yet. So, but my passion was at the time, I mean, the only way I can describe it, the review of the album, I got some really good reviews, and I was Record of the Week on Radio 1 and Album of the Week on Radio 1 as well. But they all thought I was American because of the success in America with the Alan Parsons project. So that was the first thing. And then secondly, we mixed the rhythm section between, instead of having Richard Bailey, who's now playing with Stevie Winwood still. So Richard Bailey was the Gonzalez drummer, so I introduced him to Alan. But Alan thought that Stu Elliott would fit the rock soul rather than just soul, and he was correct. And then we had John Giblin on bass, who went on to Simple Minds, but he was
John Giblin,
so
the great one.
yeah, great player.
Yes.
So he had played with Gonzalez for a little while, and then we had Robert Hawaii on keyboards, who played on the George Michael Faith album, and Max Middleton on keyboards. So that was my choices, and we mixed sort of funk meets soul. And when the reviews came out, they said, if you like Billy Joel and you like Stevie Wonder, this guy Lenny Zakatek doesn't sound like them, but it's where they placed the album. So it was sort of the melodies of. So I mean, I don't know.
I agree with you because I've found, and when you came to my town or Brescia or Bergamo, I want your autograph on this album. I found out on vinyl your first solo album, and I think that the mood of the album, it is not British, but
Yeah.
for me it is very very American way, American sound,
Sure.
like Steely Dan. Yes, Billy Joel. I think that this kind of musician, not so much Stevie Wonder. I think that
Yeah.
the most sentimental and the romantic piece of a man, and I think that Alan Parsons put it in because Alan Parsons produced all Stewart and others musician.
Sure.
But I want to ask you, Lenny, in 1984, Alan Parsons prepared a band called Kites.
Keats, yeah.
Yes. Can you recall, have you involved in this project or not?
No, if I'm honest, I was disappointed I wasn't in the band.
Okay.
Because Eric, but then Eric said no. Keats is, I think Colin Blunstone was in Keats.
Yes, Colin Blunstone, Peter Bardens of
Yeah.
Camel.
Yeah. So I think the plan.
Let me check it out because it is a not conventional album. Let me find
Is
the
this live?
personnel.
Is this podcast going out live? You don't edit
Yes.
it? Oh,
No, live.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. And so you are disappointed about this album.
No, because at the time Eric didn't tell me that he had plans for me. It was just I was with the guys and I just had the successes in America with
Kids,
I Wouldn't
okay.
Want to Be Like You and possibly Damned If I Do. So, when you have two successes of a major album, you think somebody's going to sign you at
Yes.
some point.
Okay.
So when
The
Eric said,
sorry, Lenny. The personnel was Colin Blunstone, David Payton, Ian Berenson, Peter Bardens, and Stuart Elliott. Collaborator extra, Richard Cottle.
yeah, well, they're all the guys.
But I don't like it because I think that in this kind of project, your voice was fit very well.
I think so, but Eric, I think, decided he made the separate band and then he made me a solo artist rather than the lead singer of Keats. So in some ways, it was better for me. At the time, when he announced Keats, I remember going and listening to the music and, going to the studio and that kind of stuff. But I was sort of thinking, when you're young and you want the success, you think, why isn't it me singing this, But I think in the end, Eric and Alan were correct because Keats was a different thing to me.
Yes.
And I think my album was critically successful.
Yes.
But the problem we had in the UK with my album was I got signed in America. I didn't get signed in the UK.
Okay.
But just in that moment, the hottest label was in the UK. A&M Records was hot in the UK. They had Police, they had John Armour Trading, they had Joe Jackson, they had Squeeze. I mean, they're all in the same year, for Christ's sake, And I'm in America getting signed. And out of America, I think, I'm not sure Peter Frampton was on A&M at the time, but I remember Herb Albert's Tijuana Brass, was successful, which was totally different, because Herb Albert owned half of A&M at the time. So when I came to the UK and I went to see them, nobody knew who I was because I was an American artist, but I lived in England all my life, you know what I mean? So it was very strange for me. And then radio was playing it, but there was the record company didn't have the heart as much because they had so much success from so many great artists going to America that they didn't need a British artist that's signed in America to come back this way. You know what I mean? So the album, although critically was acclaimed as a really good album, they didn't.
Yes, a good one, very, very.
Yeah. So
and Lenny, and after the Alan Parsons project, in time, you going solo.
No, I left. I mean, after the Alan Parsons projects, I was really sad because I really thought that we should be touring as a band. I think one of the reasons, when you mentioned earlier that, when you mention the Alan Parsons project now, a lot of people go, yeah, who are they, etc., because we never toured. Most bands with this.
Never.
It was very sad because most bands with that success rate of almost 60 million albums would have been touring, Foreigner, Toto, Bon Jovi. They tour and tour. We never toured, so we were never in front of an audience. It was just radio and videos. So there was no real contact, with, Queen toured the world. Everybody toured in those days except the Alan Parsons projects. And I still think to this day, with Colin still around and I'm still around, and it wasn't very long ago that John Miles, rest his soul, was around, and Steve Harley only 3-4 months ago passed away. So there was 4 or 5, in my estimation, really excellent singers. And if we were doing that now with the Alan Parsons project, I believe it would have been more successful on the road, you know what I mean? But we never did it.
Yes, I agree with you, because the only mistake of the Alan Parsons project was not to do shows. Maybe, yes, you can find in the later years, maybe not so many concerts. It was a pity because so many records and no promotional, not so bad.
Yeah, no, you can't do it. I mean, we did a tour. Ian Benson, myself, Eric Wolfson, and Alan Parsons went to South America in the 80s, and it was successful. The albums. I think it was the time that Turner Friendly Card came out, and I think we were number 1 out there. But because there was a band appearing, to promote the album, not a writer and a producer, So we were, I believe, our personalities are different, but
yes,
the guitar
different minds, different heads. Yes, I know it.
So I think even now we could probably still do some stuff as a kind of reunion, which would be lovely. But
it will be a good one. I think that if Alan Parsons do a reunion with you, for me it is a success. I think that Lenny, but I don't want to talk about this thing because I think that it is very delicate, and I don't want to enter in this private sphere.
Sure.
Lenny, I want to ask you. I'm sorry. I want to say thank you for your time, and thank you for the availability, because thank you for everything, for your voice.
Thank you. No, thank you.
And I want to give a cheer to Sergio Pescara. Ciao Sergio, grazie per il contatto con Lenny, sei stato gentilissimo. And Lenny, thank you for your time, thank you for everything. I will send you the link of this live and everything we talk about before the streaming. Grazie a tutti. Okay. Lenny, good night.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Ciao Lenny. Ciao.
See you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.